What it do, snackers and snackettes? It's your boy Gage. This is Snacking and Hanging, the Loading Snacks podcast. Loading Snacks crew in the building with me. Sin, speak to the people.
It's cracking everybody. Let's get to it.
New Joker, speak to the people.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey. What's happening, joint?
Hey.
So we got a couple things we want to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, we're going to talk a little bit about some things going on at Sony with them discontinuing PlayStation Now. And I have a couple other things I just kind of want to bring up. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then on the back half, we're going to talk about Microsoft moving their E3 press conference date to kind of change things up a little bit. So, should we just jump right in, gentlemen?
Let's just jump on in.
Nothing to it but to do it.
Nothing to it but to do it. So, word hit the street, that Sony is going to be discontinuing the PlayStation Now service, specifically on PlayStation 3, the Vita, PlayStation TV, if you manage to get one of those, their Blu-ray players, all of the Samsung TVs, and on the Sony TVs, at least the ones that could get it, which I think is like 2013 through 2015. And they also, and their 2016 TVs, but the date is different. So for those of you who don't know what PlayStation Now is, I mean, if you're listening to this, you should. You probably do, but we're going to go over it anyway. So basically, PlayStation Now is a streaming service that Sony uses to allow people to pay to basically rent or play their back catalog of games from PlayStation 1 all the way up through PlayStation 3. So 1, 2, and 3. I mean, initially some people, I guess, felt like it was expensive or, whatever. Now, they are going to continue to support PlayStation Now, but it will only be supported on PC and on PlayStation 4, and that's it. Every other format, every other place where they were supporting it, they will no longer do so. So, gentlemen, what do we think about this? I'll start with you, Jokes.
I mean, for me, on my perspective, for me personally, it doesn't affect me as much just because I never used it.
Right.
I used the trial at one point when it first dropped, but like specific games that I would really have loved to see come to it, never really did.
Okay.
Especially that PlayStation 1 library that was supposed to be.
Yeah.
It never presented itself. Now, on the opposite side of that now, I feel bad for people that may have bought a TV with the specific use of using PlayStation Now on there. Because, I mean, that was kind of an excellent selling point for specific TVs. You're telling me I get a TV and then I can go on here, subscribe to the subscription service, and I can play, of course, not most recent games, but I have a whole library of games that I can get
Right.
without buying a console. It's pretty dope.
Right.
But and then also I see that as a death coming to the older gen consoles now. I mean, no games for the most part. I mean, the Vita, granted, at least there are still some games that come out for it. Most of them I would buy digitally anyway, but that to me would have been like if the PlayStation 1 games would have been where I wanted them at, that would have been my main use for my Vita.
I got you.
But
yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
My Vita, like, it's honestly, it's been sitting. Like, I only had 2 games for the Vita. That was one of the Assassin's Creeds, purely off the fact it came in the package with the special edition white Vita.
Okay.
And what was the other thing? The PlayStation All Stars. Those are the only 2 things I had because it came with the PlayStation 4 version.
Okay.
PlayStation 3. What's this? Was that PS3 or PS4?
I don't know.
I don't even remember.
I don't know, but
I don't even
PlayStation
remember.
All Stars is terrible. So don't even. That's not even. Don't even. I think you make some good points. Sin, what do you think?
I think last gen, like PS3, 360, like that they're pretty much out the door, pretty much at this point. So I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing as them discontinuing it on there and saying they want to move forward. I don't have a problem with them taking away from TVs. You know what I mean? I think the Vita is a bad idea. I think a lot of people probably did go out and get Vitas, and they probably use. That's where a lot of their PlayStation Now stuff does come from. People who use Vitas and take them on the go, and they can just log in and play that back catalog. I think this is just another shot in the foot that Sony's doing. I mean, I don't think there's that many people who probably actually on the PS4 right now are playing the using PlayStation Now like that. I think it's more of the threes, but really the Vita crowd that's probably using it, and they're still pushing Vita right now. Like they still have a ton of games coming out this year. You know what I'm saying? PlayStation 3 has nothing practically coming out this year.
Okay.
Like there's still stuff coming
Okay.
out for the Vita, so they still have some support coming to that line at least
Right.
throughout this year somewhere. You know what I mean? So maybe they should have done it in like phases. Like, all right, we're
Well,
gonna discontinue that.
well, they kind of are doing it in phases, but they're basically doing all of that other stuff is done as of August 15th. It's what's kind of interesting is the newer TVs, the Sony TVs that are 2016 TVs, so a TV from last year, they're done in like April. So they're actually cutting that service off earlier to those to the newer TVs than they are to the older TVs and to the Vita and the PlayStation 3. Like they have more time. So that's kind of strange to me.
Yeah, that's
Um
yeah the newer TVs. That's weird. I don't know what the decision was
I
behind it,
think
making that decision.
I mean they said okay, so their VP of marketing basically said that the reason why they're doing this is so that they can focus on making the PlayStation Now experience the best it can possibly be on PlayStation 4. So I guess what they're trying to do is they want to be able to streamline what the experience looks like how I give you an example. I guess it's kind of like how Netflix is. You know how Netflix it the app works one way on Xbox
Oh,
One. It
absolutely.
works a different way on PS4. It's different on your phone. It's different
Yeah,
on your PC. It's different. You know what I mean? Like every version of Netflix,
it's
you
different
might
depending on where
have
you go. Right.
Netflix running on 3 or 4 different versions, but how it works and operates is different. And there's an expense that's tied to that to actually build and create the app for all these different places. So I get that they want to focus on having like a streamlined experience, for that. I also have to imagine that there's more to it. Into like it's got to be a monetary thing to me. Now, while we know that PlayStation is doing very well for Sony, Sony as a company is still hurting. They're still bleeding money. Um, and so the rest of the company isn't really doing but so well. And Sony has taken some really, really big chances recently with things like PSVR, um, as well as the PlayStation 4 Pro. You kind of jump out there, you put this expense out there, you drop this money into it, and you need to see a return on that. And if you're not seeing a return on that, and that would include if PlayStation Now was something that you're putting money into, but you're not seeing a return on it, whether it's from Vita or from television users or, whatever, then it's not worth it to continue doing it. Now, had they said they were ending support of it altogether, I'd be much more concerned. Because the way they're doing PlayStation Now is via the purchase they made of Gaikai, which they paid a lot of money for.
Mm-hmm.
So that just kind of is a thing where it's like, well, there's another bunch of money that they spent, and it's not really working out for them the way they really need it to. So, I mean, I don't necessarily think it's a terrible thing that it's happening. Obviously, though, if you're a person who has a regular subscription, a rolling subscription, if you're not going in, oh, I want to play this game for a couple days, or I want to play this game this month, and you're just paying for that one game or whatever, if you're a person who is actually paying the monthly fee, or paid for a year, and one of those devices is the device that you use, and it's the only way that you have to access it, now we have an issue, right? Especially if
Right.
you paid for like a long period of time. They did say, Sony suggested, hey, if you have automatic, rolling subscription going, you want to go in and make sure you turn that off so you don't start getting charged
Mm-hmm.
for something you're not going to be able to use if you don't have another way to do it. Um, Still, uh, I don't necessarily. It doesn't feel like a good thing, if if that, if that makes
No,
sense.
that makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think that, when it comes down to it, while PlayStation has a very powerful library just in terms of how much content there is in their back catalog, I mean, the only other thing that's out there that could really rival it is Nintendo. Microsoft's been around for, a while now, over a decade now with the Xbox, but they don't have the same kind of catalog that Sony has.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of potential there, but with what Microsoft is doing in terms of putting making backwards compatibility a thing through the Xbox One for at least for the 360, um, personally puts PlayStation Now to shame, especially considering they're not charging you for it. Now, don't get me wrong; it's not like, you could, if you don't have access to that, if you don't own that game,
You gotta go get
you
it.
can
Right.
buy the game. Yeah, you still have to buy it, but you can own it. You know what I mean? And then just play it or go pick it up at a used copy and play it if you want to play it. Versus, having to pay for it, whether even if you own it. You know what I mean? It's not like you can take your PlayStation 1 disc of Final Fantasy 7 and pop it in your PS4
Right.
and make it work. So, I like and understand where Sony was going with it when they did it, but I just don't think they put enough into it to turn it into, what it potentially could be. And that kind of leads me into another thing that kind of, when I saw this, and I just started thinking about, okay, in terms of the business side of things and how it makes sense to me to do this. But it actually made me wonder whether or not we're getting ready to see Sony discontinue making the standard PlayStation 4 and only do the PS4 Pro. And that might seem a little weird because clearly they're manufacturing a new console that is a slimmer version of the PlayStation 4.
Mm-hmm.
But currently there's a price drop on the PlayStation 4 on the Slim. It's $50 cheaper, comes with a game, right? That's running right now. And it's like February. Why are you doing that? You have Horizon Zero Dawn getting ready to come out in like 2 weeks. Like potentially the biggest game release of the entire PS4 era. And you put the console on sale. You don't really need additional sales. You're already outpacing Microsoft, and you won December and January as far as console sales are concerned, even with the One S being out there. So why is this joint on sale right now? Why are you doing that? And the only thing that makes sense to me is we got to move through some units because we got to start getting rid of these joints. And to me, we need to put some money on the table. Let's sell through these, put some money on the table so we can manufacture heavier to get the pros out. Or we need the additional funds to be able to manufacture more PSVRs, right? Because there have been rumors that it's been hard. I see them in the wild, but there's been, you can't find one anywhere. I don't think that's true. Or they're having trouble manufacturing them. I don't know that that's true either. But if it is, then maybe that's a thing. With Microsoft getting ready to start talking Scorpio for real in the coming months, within just a couple of months. Do you guys think, like, am I just kind of off my rocker right now? Do you guys think there's a possibility that Sony is getting ready to discontinue the standard PlayStation 4 and only do the PS4 Pro with a price drop? I completely would expect that the PlayStation 4 Pro gets a price drop because they want to be prepared to compete with whatever Microsoft announces at whatever price point they announce it at.
I could see that. I mean, with the price drop, I would still want to keep it unless the price drop on the Pro is going to be just absolutely significant. I mean, it puts it where, like, say if like the Nintendo Switch is getting ready to drop,
Yep, that too.
it puts it in a closer range to combat the Switch. Like, if you tell me, like, let's say I'm gonna get a Switch, I'm pretty sure at this point I'm getting a
Right.
Switch, but for that person, it's like, well, do I want to get this PS4 that's on sale for 250, 260, whatever on sale it possibly may be,
Mm-hmm.
or 299 for the Switch? A lot more people, I feel, will go for the PS4, unless if you want to have, you just want that new thing, you want to have that experience with it. Like, I would just want to keep it inside of that competition space, because where if you go at, let's say PS4 Pro is $399, and
Right.
let's say you cut the price on it to, let's just say to $50, so 340, let's say 329 to 349.
Right.
$30 difference. I may want to still pay that to get the PS4 Pro instead of the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have those people that are like, well, hey, that $30, $40 buys me a game. So maybe I'll just go ahead,
Buys you a
buy
game
the
for
Switch.
what?
And
You ain't buying a game for. There's no game you want for the Switch for $30 or $40.
I didn't say, well, I didn't say me.
Okay,
I didn't say me.
I'm
Pause
just
it right
saying.
there.
Like, I haven't even seen any. Okay, let me put it to you this way. I hear what you're saying, but let me just throw a monkey wrench in that joint real quick on the. If you're
Go for it.
buying a Switch for $300, you're buying a Switch to get Zelda. Period. You're spending $400. Let's just be real. You're gonna spend the
Mm-hmm.
$300 plus the $60 with tax. You're spending $400, and that's assuming you're not getting an extra controller or something else like that, and you probably are. But let's if you're thinking, okay, well, I could get another game besides Zelda, because remember, all the pre-orders are gone, so you're really not getting one if you don't have a pre-order. And pretty much the people who pre-order, they either want to resell it on eBay or they most definitely are getting Zelda. So even a game like 1-2 Switch is still $60. Like,
True.
I don't, and you have no library. The potential of if you're gonna get a PS4 Pro, you can still do PlayStation Now. So you have a back catalog that's, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a back catalog that's there. But I mean, you also got to remember. I mean, the thing that's strange about this to me is that, like, there are almost 60 million. Let's just go ahead and say that it's like 55 million to 60 million PlayStation 4s that are out there now. What combination of that is standards or slims or pros? Whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's a PlayStation 4. They play all the same games. One just has a bit more power, right? A bit more output. So it is what it is. But why if right now Microsoft right now has like 5 SKUs out just for the Xbox One. Like, you have the base Xbox, like the original Xbox One. You have like 3 versions of the One S with different hard drive sizes. The base version of the One S has like 2 or 3 hard drive sizes. You know what I mean? Like, it's just it's muddy. Like, what do I get? Which one? Blah blah, right? And I think that
Right.
causes confusion in the market with people, because they put one version on sale, the other one's not on sale. Only this one is this price, but if you get this, you know what I mean? It's just for Sony to make it simple. You walk into the store, if it says PlayStation 4 on it, it's a Pro. You get it, you can use it, it works with all the games. Done. You know what I'm saying? Where Switch is still even in a position where, what's this new Nintendo thing? Does this work with the 3DS? What do you mean it's portable? So my 3DS games work on it? What you mean they don't work on it? I thought it was portable. So this is a different portable? Well, nah, it's a home console. Like, that is a real thing. That still exists. You know as well as I do, we've all worked video game retail. You know it's a real thing, right? You got 2DSs, 3DSs, new 3DSs, and now you have another home console that's a portable that also has tiny little cartridges that look exactly the same. Just a slightly different box. That's confusing to people. If Sony says, you know what? Let's just make this easy. It's PlayStation 4. we're done. You know what I'm saying? Like, PS4 Pro is the PlayStation 4 because it does everything else. And technically, if they sell through whatever they have left on the PlayStation 4 at that price and just do the Pro, they don't even have to announce it. They could just slowly let those joints dwindle away and just not replenish them. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't have to say, oh, we're discontinuing the Slim. They could just not replenish them. And when you go to find one, you may just only be able to find a Pro at some point once the rest of the stuff is gone from the wild. And if they sell enough of those and sell enough Pros in that process, they could make enough money to say, all right, the Pro's doing well, this is what's out there, and drop the price again. You know what I mean? Or it might even be worth it for them to take the hit. They may already be considering taking a hit on the price because they don't know what Microsoft's going to do when they put theirs out. I feel like Sony's trying to put themselves in the best position to react to whatever Microsoft does because they don't have a choice. So they're trying to be proactive so that they can react in the best way possible based on whatever it is that Microsoft says they're going to do. And the Switch is there, but it's not a real threat. It's just not. Like, you're already a PlayStation. Most people are PlayStation 4 owners. If you're a video gamer, most people have a PlayStation 4. So you have one. You want a Switch, you're not getting a Pro. But if you were undecided and you didn't own either one, and there was even a question about which one to get, I think most people go with the Pro. What do you think, Sam?
You know what? I think both of y'all have. I don't know. Honestly, I've been thinking about it, listening to both of y'all. I think y'all got good points. Like, I think News Joker talking about with Switch coming out, it may be the way, let's throw something on sale now to kind of combat that, even though they're still winning. Why? I don't know. It makes some kind of sense. I agree with you on that point. But I do think there's some validity to what you're saying as far as with the Scorpio coming out and not knowing anything besides that it's codenamed Scorpio in the video that they showed us last year. But we know that it's coming this year and E3 is on the horizon. So maybe it could be a way for them to get ahead of the 8 ball with it, not knowing what it is.
Right.
I'm
sure they have some level of insight to it.
I
You
mean,
know
yeah,
what I
they
mean?
probably do.
I always believe there's this corporate espionage.
Yeah.
Somebody knows something. You know what
no,
I mean?
I'm with you. I mean, we don't know anything
Of
yet,
course.
but it makes hearing you talk about it. It doesn't make sense to me that could be a real thing. That, you know what? Let's like make the PS Pro a thing. Even though if they got rid of the PS4s and don't have the PS Pros, it technically would just be the PS4 at that point. So they would have to try to change the name. But I mean, I honestly don't know. Listen, both y'all, but they both kind of make sense in you know the way y'all put it out there. So I'm up in the air. And I'm just waiting for E3.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a mindset that says, okay, if we got the PlayStation 4 if the PlayStation 4 is down to $250, it's $50 cheaper than the Switch is. And now you're going to have all of these people who have no idea that the Switch is even a thing, right? Like, we're starting to see commercials on regular TV for the Switch, for the games, with dates that say March 3rd. But you know as well as I do, you're not getting the Switch on March 3rd if you didn't already pre-order one.
I'm gonna have
period.
I'm gonna have
get
mine.
somehow
That's
super lucky.
And I might just have that.
if you walk into a store on March 3rd, March 4th, March 7th, attempting to get a Switch,
no bueno.
Okay, with $300 plus in your hand, prepared to pay for it, like, you know what? Might be time to go ahead and grab a new game system. But there are PlayStation 4s in that joint for $250. You might just, you know what? Go ahead, let me get that joint. Like, when you ask, like, when are you guys going to get more Switches? We don't know. We don't know. Whenever they come in. I mean, you could pay us. You could go ahead and pay for one now, and then when it comes, we'll call you. But it might be a month. It might be a couple weeks. You know what I mean? Anybody who remembers going through that with the Wii, anybody who's going through it over this past Christmas holiday with the Nintendo Classic, might just be like, you know what? I'm not even doing this. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that is Nintendo's biggest problem to me, is that they like, you got to put units out there. You know what I mean? Like, people need to be able to walk into a store and pick it up. And when people tell you, oh, nope, it's sold out everywhere you go, but you have options you know what I mean, like real options, if they still intend to sell more, I don't know. It's just kind of something that came to me because I think that it might be a smart move for Sony to say, you know what, we need to not continue to manufacture all of these units. It just doesn't make sense anymore. You know what I mean? Let's try to save some money by manufacturing one thing. Let's drop the price. Let's move the units. We'll pack in a couple games with it, you know, to entice people to pick it up in the first place. And then at least they're in there with a. I mean, you're talking about $250 with a game. The Switch doesn't come with a game. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, you're right. It could be that they're just trying to be prepared to combat the Switch when it comes out with their big game coming out the same week, but just before it. I mean, could be. It could be. I don't know. If they did that, let's put it this way. If they did that, do you think that's a good move for them?
I'm gonna be very real with you. I did not hear the question. Could you repeat it? I had a quick
I'm
emergency.
saying
I had to look out the door real quick. But
if they did discontinue the standard 4, you know, just price it down, sell through it, and the only PlayStation 4 there is a PlayStation 4 Pro, do you think that's a good move for Sony?
I mean, they're still winning. They're still ahead. I mean, it's a Pro. As long as it's not extra expensive, I don't think it'll hurt them any. It ain't like the Pro does everything the 4 does, just enhanced. So,
right.
Yes, I know. I don't think it will hurt them any. As long as,
Yeah.
like I said, as long as
mean,
it's not too overly like how there's a price difference between the two. Now, you know what I mean. As long as they bring the price down to be what the standard kind of is, nah, it wouldn't hurt them.
Yeah.
It's gonna have to be right. That price point gonna have to be right. That's plain and simple.
I mean, do you think the price point is right now? Like, again, if they can do a $50 drop, you know, if it's $350 for the Pro, is that too much? Because I mean, that's kind of going to depend on what Microsoft does, because we don't know what their price is going to be too.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I just thought I'd throw it out there, ladies and gentlemen. If you're listening, you let me know what you think. Do you think that Sony is plotting or planning something like this? Would it even bother you? I talked to somebody the other day who told me that they'd be very upset if Sony did that. And I was like, why?
They got rid of the
like,
regular 4s.
Cause he was like, cause I'm a Sony fan. Like, as a fan, like, I just feel like that's like you shouldn't do that. And I was like, why? And he was like, well,
Do they have a PlayStation 4 already?
Well, so here's the thing. He had a PlayStation 4. Okay. Unfortunately, he lost his PlayStation 4. His house, there was a fire at his house, and he lost his PlayStation 4.
Okay.
You know what I mean? In that fire. So he does not currently have a PlayStation 4. Mm-hmm. He wants to get another PlayStation 4. And so maybe it's the difference in price, but I'm like, yeah, but even for all the people who feel like making a PlayStation 4 Pro was an unnecessary move for a company that was so far ahead anyway, that it didn't necessarily make sense to even jump out there and spend the money to do this thing, will tell you that, yeah, but if you don't have a PlayStation 4, it only makes sense to get a Pro. Like, it makes sense to get a Pro. Like, you can barely find a 1080p TV now. Like, you got to work to find a 1080p TV now. So, at this point, it's kind of like, if you don't own one, isn't the Pro the one you should get if you're going to buy one? Everybody else already has one. So it's not like it's technically hurting someone who already bought one. They already did that damage. If you're mad about them putting out a Pro, you're mad because you already have a 4. Or because you bought it right before they announced it and put it out.
Right.
And you didn't know. You know what I mean? Right. And there's still nothing stopping you from trading in your 4 to get a Pro. You know what I mean? If you decide you want to do that down the line, which means it's still going to be cheaper, you know what I mean, for you than buying a new Switch or a Xbox S or a Scorpio. Which, again, I'm still going with, it's going to be called the Xbox One Elite or the Xbox Elite. That's where I feel. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that at this point, if you're going to get one, you might as well get a Pro. So Why even have the other ones out there unless you're just like, well, another $100 is too much, or another $50 is too much. You gonna pay another $50 to get whatever else is out there anyway. So, I don't know. You guys think we should take a break?
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
we
the
can.
halfway
Yeah.
mark.
Let's take a break. All right, let's do it. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. And we are back, gentlemen. This is episode 55 of Snacking and Hanging. And what I want to do now is talk to you guys about E3 a little bit. A couple things happened over the last couple weeks that we didn't really discuss. One of which is the fact that E3 is open to the public. They had 15,000 tickets that they made available to the public to buy. As of this recording, those tickets are still not sold out, which seems
Ridiculous.
bad.
I'm super surprised.
But
like, honestly.
Me too, but they're expensive. And I think that the people who would want to go to E3, people like us, know that you can go to PAX and have kind of the same experience for a lot less than what it costs to go to E3 for what they're asking. And I do think that there's a possibility that last year's E3 was kind of uneventful in that, E3s have had terrible leaks over the last couple of years. But last year's E3 was kind of uneventful in terms of Electronic Arts pulled out, did their own thing. And Bethesda pulled out and did their own thing. And Disney pulled out and that was that. And then, it just, all these people, these big publishers pulled out and Nintendo only had one game, which was Zelda, but still only had one game.
One game, right.
And, so it's where is that excitement? And, maybe the indie scene isn't quite as big of a thing or, whatever for E3 like it is at something like a PAX. But having said that, one of the things for me is that even though I've always been very excited about the idea or the prospect of going to E3, we all know that. It's kind of one of those lifelong dream things. If you're an avid gamer, you know what E3 is, and to go to E3 is a big deal. However, I'm honestly not as interested in going to E3 to go to the show floor as I am about going to E3. Like, I want to sit in the conferences. Like, I want to sit in Microsoft's conference, in Sony's conference, you know what I mean? Like, I want to go to Bethesda. Like, I want to sit in the conference and be there live when they make the announcements that drive the internet crazy. You know what I'm saying?
So let me ask you this. Those tickets they were selling didn't get you into the conference?
Nah, because they're not even at this. Yeah, it's not the same thing. It's not the same place. It just gets you, Comic-Con admission kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like,
that's
go
very good to know.
And you go and look, I listen to enough podcasts with, folks in the industry and watch enough coverage to know that, E3, even for people who have appointments to play a particular game, still means standing in lines for hours at a time. You know what I mean? Like, having to split up and send this person here and, hey, you go there and you got a meeting with so-and-so here and you got a meeting with so-and-so here and you still stand in line. You know what I mean? For an extended period of time, 2 hours, hour and a half, just to play a game for 20 minutes, 15 minutes or whatever. And I just don't think that's the experience that a lot of people are looking for. Not for $150, not for $250, because only the first 1,000 people got in for $150.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else's tickets are $250. So there's a lot to be said there. But on the heels of that, Microsoft announced that they are changing the time of their and day of their conference. Traditionally, for years now, Microsoft has had their conference on Monday morning at like 9 a.m. Right?
That was they're the first to go from the big three, I would say.
Right.
Right.
And Sony used to do theirs the following day. They used to do theirs on Tuesday. But as of the last couple of years, what they've been doing is they've been going on Monday, but in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be 6 or 7 o'clock, something like that, their time, when Sony does theirs. So it all happens on the same day. And last year, what we saw was EA did their conference and started on like Saturday, Sunday. Technically, E3 doesn't start until Tuesday. The conferences are usually on Monday, the big,
Mm-hmm.
with the exception of Nintendo. Nintendo's been going on Tuesday. But so EA did their thing Saturday, Sunday, EA Play before E3 even really starts. Bethesda did theirs on Sunday
Mm-hmm.
before E3 even starts. Now Microsoft has moved their conference to Sunday, 2 days before it starts, and they're doing it at 2 p.m. their time, Pacific. 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So I want to kind of get your opinions on this. Why you think it may have happened. I mean, I have my own conclusions. You guys know I always do.
Mm-hmm.
But why, what do you think of this? Do you think it matters? What do you think the mind frame is for doing this?
They got some trick up their sleeve. What it is, I have no clue.
Doesn't it seem like it? Like it seems like we are so confident
Yeah, like
about this machine.
yeah,
Straight
like
up.
if you just say like, oh, they're coming later, like
Right.
then they're like,
it,
okay, like they've been going first all these years. You know what I mean? So let everybody else get their news out. Then they gonna hit us with the ooh-wop. But
well, because that's what we've talked about that before. That like Sony has been able to like one up Microsoft
Exactly.
specifically by going after them.
Exactly.
By you
Yeah,
know what I
going
mean, making fun of and making when Microsoft has even what is really a really good conference, Sony comes through and does theirs right after and like picks at things that Microsoft did. I think it's trifling that they do it. That they do that. Like I just feel like spirit of competition, whatever. But there's no reason to do stuff like that. But they do, and they always come out like. People think that Sony has had a better conference. I don't usually think that that's the case because usually to me, Sony shows you a bunch of stuff you're not going to get for years anyway. So it's like it doesn't even matter where Microsoft tends to put stuff in front of you that's mostly coming within the current year and maybe the following year under most circumstances. So if they were like, yeah, we're doing ours on Wednesday, you know what I mean?
yeah, that's kind of
Then
what
it would
I
be
was.
like,
That's kind of like what when you initially said that they've changed. When they're going on, I was like, hey, it's gonna be later after Sony. You know what I mean? And for all the reasons we just kind of said, but Sunday at like 2, which
yeah,
means the only reason to do that, y'all have something up y'all sleeve
yeah.
that you want to get out in front of everybody ASAP. Maybe it's
I mean, that's how I
Scorpio.
feel.
Maybe it's they got some other tricks up their sleeve. Who knows what it is? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
HoloLens
Possibly.
is gonna be dropping at the end of E3. You
Right.
go everywhere and go pick it up. You know what I mean? Like who knows? Like
Right.
but they have something in their sleeve to be making that move. What it is, don't know. But that makes me a little bit more excited for E3 now.
Yeah. I mean, I thought, man, what are they up to? You know what I'm saying? Like, why would you? Because Bethesda's is still the same day right now. Like,
Yeah.
Bethesda's is still on that same day. And I think it's in the evening. I think it's at like 6. And
They're-
EA,
Uh-huh.
I think, starts on that Saturday. It's Saturday and Sunday. You know what I mean? So, like, Microsoft's like, yeah, we're just going right in the middle of all that. Like, you know what I mean?
Straight up.
But it also makes me think, like, maybe, just maybe, they have something planned with those two guys. Because they can't, you know what I mean? Like, it just seems like because that puts them in a position to announce things that might have to do with, say, Bethesda before Bethesda does their own conference.
True.
Last year, it was kind of fluke because Bethesda did their conference, and then when they came out and spoke, like, at Microsoft conference, it was kind of like, we literally just saw this yesterday. Like, what
Right.
y'all are showing right now.
Right.
Like, they had a couple little things, but we literally just saw this. Like, this isn't really news. This is ineffective. You know what I'm saying? What do you think, Jokes?
I mean, the biggest thing, just like you said, it sounds like they definitely have something up their sleeve. Now, only thing I will say, because typically when they go on Monday, theirs is kind of like during the day, isn't it?
It's usually at
They,
9 in the
like you
morning.
said,
Like
Oh
it's
yeah,
for us on our it's 9 in the morning their time.
I'm
You know what I
supposed to
mean?
be at
there,
So
work
right.
working, and I'm on the computer watching,
yeah,
not working.
yeah. For us, it
Now,
usually starts around 12 or 1 o'clock. You know, East
so
Coast
the only
time.
thing I'll say is going on Sunday. I mean, at least on Sunday, one, I feel like more people are going to actually be able to see it,
Right. It's the weekend.
because like, and that's one big thing. So like, say they have whatever up their sleeve and they can get this in front of more people than they normally would.
Mm-hmm.
Because like for me, when I was like certain places, when I was working, like I could go off the floor if I wanted to, and I could sit there and I can watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much right now.
Right.
So I definitely am going to enjoy the fact that it's on Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
but just getting in front of more people at one time, I think is maybe a part of that, but I don't think that's the majority of it. And just like you said, maybe they got something paired up with Bethesda. Maybe there's something. I don't want to say an exclusive title, but maybe some content. I don't know. Maybe it's something that's just enough
I
to
mean,
make this wow factor.
it could be something VR related. Like we know that Fallout 4 VR is a thing that they're really working on. Maybe there's something with that. Todd Howard, was very specific about being able to do things they really want to do using the power of what the Scorpio was going to be. He was in that video that they showed last year at E3.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely a possibility that something like that could exist. It could be that they have a partnership or something else that's going on with EA. I mean, if you consider the fact that from the onset of the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, EA came out with the pass, and that's something that's exclusive to Microsoft, unless now it's available on PC, but you can't get it on PlayStation. So there is a relationship there with Microsoft and EA will be having a conference over the weekend. So that's a possibility. The other thing I think that makes some sense is that part of what I think happens to Microsoft is even when Microsoft has a really good conference, whatever announcements they make, whatever they come out and say, even if it's brilliant, people are excited about it, it only lasts for about 3 hours, 5 hours max, before everybody's like, all right, let's see what Sony's talking about. And then Sony comes out and they make announcements, and whatever they announce is automatically compared specifically to what Microsoft just said, right? But this,
True.
if you're getting out, let's say literally more than 24 hours
Right.
ahead of
Especially if they're still going
when,
at nighttime on the next day. Yes, definitely more than 24
right.
hours.
And again, look, Sony could announce that they're going to change when they're doing theirs. You know what I mean? Like that, they could. It'll seem fluke now if they do
We're
that,
doing
but
on
they
Sunday night.
yeah, they certainly could. But if they leave it where it is, where it has been, that gives Microsoft a full 24 hours of owning the airwaves, owning the mind share, you know what I mean?
Twitter sphere
Everybody's
and all
talking
that
about
stuff,
what
right.
Microsoft was doing for the last 24 hours, news outlets, anybody who's doing reporting or anything like that. The first thing you're going to hear when you get up and watch the news Monday morning, they do their little entertainment segment. It'll be, man, Microsoft came out, Scorpio, 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 Scorpio. It does this, it does this, it does this,
And you
and
know
they're
what?
doing VR.
When
You know what I
put it
mean?
that
Like,
way, that makes another good reason why possibly they moved it.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, it just gives them I feel like part of the reason why they've been losing even just the console, like Microsoft has done so much to kind of make things better since they had that fiasco in 2013 where
Oh
like
God, yeah.
nobody, even people who were on the same stage together just 10 minutes before, they come off stage and you go to ask them a question and what they have to say is something different than what the person just said. You know what I mean? Like, that was a disaster just in a conference as a whole in terms of like, what does your box actually do? So the messaging was atrocious. And then you turn around and you have Sony come out and go, this is how you share games. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they
Really?
just, banged him in the forehead with it. So, you know, really from before then, but especially since then, since the onset of this current generation that we're in, Microsoft has consistently has had to deal with, okay, here comes Microsoft. Hope they got their messaging right. We really like Phil, and they've been doing some great things. But man, like I still feel like they're eating it for what that conference was, and they're still paying for the mistakes that conference was. And they have not been able to get past the mistakes of those conferences because Sony comes out right after they do. Like, you got to think about it. If you're at work in the morning when Microsoft does their conference, you've already missed all the news, right? You don't know anything that's going on, right? Sony comes out and does their conference. You know, for us, it's 9 o'clock at night. Might be too late for some people, but, you know, it's 7 o'clock their time. When Sony hits with their news, like, you've gotten off work, you come home, now Sony's going, and what you see and what you're hearing is what's brand new and fresh, and that's all coming from Sony. And then all you're hearing is what like, you completely missed everything Microsoft talked about because you were at work or you were on your way to work, or, you know what I mean? Then Sony comes out and you hear all the stuff Sony had to say. And by the time you actually get information about what's going on at E3, if it's, say, the following morning, let's say it's Tuesday morning when you get up and you watch the news and here's what's going on in entertainment. Microsoft had their conference, Sony had their conference, this is what they both did. The message is muddled because you got to hear both. This would give Microsoft an opportunity to have it so that when you hear the message, you're only hearing what they have to say. You're only hearing what they have going on. You only hear that they've got something exciting happening or whatever. And, you know, now you also are going to have people from the public that are coming, where if Microsoft has it set up right, like, maybe they will just say, like, EA Play is open to the public. Like, it doesn't cost. You have to sign up to get in,
Right.
but it's free. You know what I mean? So if you're there, if you're one of the 15,000 people that's going anyway, I'd go that weekend. Even though it doesn't start till Tuesday, I know I'd want to be there. So maybe you go to sign up and you go to EA Play because you're going to be there anyway. And, you know, maybe you get to go and play some of those games or whatever. But if Microsoft does what they did last year, they took like 500 people and just brought them into their conference. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If they do something like that or set up their own thing, like maybe Monday, they just walk out and be like, yeah, we got all our games, all the stuff we announced is all set up, and then y'all come in here and play all day. Doesn't cost anything. Y'all just come in and come check it out, hang out. You know what I mean? It gives them the chance to actually sit down, talk to media, get their message out there before, you know, because you can't even really do that. Like, by the time you finish your conference and somebody wants to talk to you, it's like, well, we got to hurry up and talk to you and get whatever it is you want to say about your conference because we got to go cover the Sony joint now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
we got to hurry up and get back because we got to cover what Sony's doing. So I think it's brilliant that they're doing it.
Yeah, but that's all afternoon, evening, night, and most of the next day with them. Yeah.
So in the afternoon on a Sunday with no football. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Are you kidding me?
And like I said, you got Monday morning too. Like, people can go
Yeah,
and get it in.
like
and,
you just
yeah. Nice.
like it gives the opportunity for the water cooler talk on Monday morning to be about what Microsoft. Oh man, you see they got the new console coming out. Whether you like it or not, I don't like it. I don't want to spend that much money. I think that's dumb. I don't need that. I got a 4K. I don't. But you still talking about right, and it's just
everywhere.
about them.
Yep.
It's
Microsoft
just about them.
Everywhere.
Because you know what? And Microsoft kind of tried to do this last year. If you remember, Microsoft actually started making announcements about certain things like a few days, like a week before E3 hit. Like, such and such is not going to be at the conference, but here's information about it. Oh, here's a trailer for such and such, da-da-da, whatever. Like, they started actually trying to trickle out information early. Maybe they were just trying to beat leaks, because there were leaks, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But they started kind of doing that. So if it's along the same idea of like, you know what? We saw a certain amount of success or a certain amount of lift from press that we were getting by releasing certain pieces of information early and releasing certain, you know, obviously they kind of wanted the Scorpio thing to be a secret, or maybe they weren't ready to talk about it at all, but they were forced to because of the leaks. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that being the case, it's just one of those things where it's like, you know what? We're just going to jump out there. We're going to jump out. We're going to come out in front. But again, it also says a lot about their confidence level of like, yo, I'm trying to tell you, this Scorpio joint is a monster. You know what I mean? Like, they're, you know, I don't know. It's exciting, though, because they're having the opportunity to announce a new console that people have been waiting for, and it's not like Sony had to kind of play second fiddle after Microsoft beat them to the punch by saying, "Here's the Scorpio. It's the most powerful thing ever." And Sony had already come out and like, yeah, it turns out that the Pro is real, but we're not going to talk about that. So don't expect to see it at E3. Then they didn't say anything, didn't announce anything, didn't have any information about it.
Nope.
And then they did that terrible conference.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? To talk about the Pro.
That thing was so boring. Good Lord.
It was bad. It was so bad. And Microsoft kind of stole wind from him. Like they kind of, punched him in the gut a little bit and took some wind out of their sails by doing that, by announcing, yep, the Scorpio's a real thing. And obviously they were kind of planning to do something with it because they had that video recorded. You know what I mean? The show. So even though it felt like they got forced into maybe saying it a little earlier than they wanted to or something like that, clearly they sat down with people and made not that would have been terrible to do. Like you could have done that a couple days before. It's not like Todd Howard wasn't in the area.
Very true.
You know what I'm saying? Or whatever. And they were just like, here's a sheet of paper. These are the specs. This is what it's going to do. And he just sat down and was like, yo, if this is real, son, it's going to be, you know what I mean? Like, he might have just been amped. So I don't know, man. I think it's a smart move. Do you guys think Sony's going to move their conference?
No.
I don't think
You don't think they will?
Because then the immediate response would be, oh, Sony's doing this in regards to Microsoft.
I mean,
Like-
here's the thing. I
They've been
would
doing
not
good in
be...
that slot the past few years. Don't touch it.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, here's what I think. I would not necessarily be surprised to see them keep it on Monday, but move it up. Like, make it earlier in the day. You know what I mean? Just so that it's not like we got to wait until 7 o'clock at night to finally, you know what I mean? Like,
They'll take Microsoft's spot.
yeah, they could do it in the morning on Monday, or they could just do it in the afternoon. Like right now, it means that I think last year, Ubisoft, I think traditionally goes in between them.
Yeah.
Am I tripping, or was
No, they
Ubisoft
do.
on Tuesday? It's usually Microsoft,
Ubisoft, and then
Sony.
Yeah.
So maybe they won't move because Ubisoft be there. Maybe they'll try to get ahead of Ubisoft. Maybe Ubisoft will move and be like, well, shoot, we going on Monday morning. You know what I mean? We going Monday morning.
No, really.
You know what I mean? I mean, it throws everything off, but maybe Nintendo says, guess what? We got that Switch. 9 a.m. Monday morning. We coming out. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they move it, but I think multiple things will shift now because it makes you wonder whether or not them making that kind of announcement makes, somebody like Bethesda go, well, shoot, maybe we need to, you know what I'm saying, or something like that. Maybe we need to move or something, but I don't think so. It makes me feel like Microsoft probably has something planned with those companies. You know what I'm saying? To be like, let's just do it all on the same day. Let's get it all out there. And then they can do their conference at like 2 in the afternoon and say, look for more information at Bethesda's conference this evening. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's a possibility. So, I don't know, man. I think that's dope, though. I feel like they okie doked early. Like it's February. You know what I'm saying? Like it's February. It's like, you know what? Yup. E3, Slim.
It'll be
We
here
going
before
early.
we know it.
We ain't doing this anymore. Yeah, it will. All right, so look, what's a lot getting ready to happen in the next couple weeks? We got For Honor just dropped.
Yep.
We got Ghost Recon coming. We got Horizon coming. We got the Switch coming. We got Zelda coming. We got
Mass Effect.
Mass Effect coming.
Mm-hmm.
This has been, I'm going to say, like Resident Evil just happened. This has been the busiest beginning of a year for gaming in a long time, bruh. And I feel like it's going to get worse. I feel like everybody's trying to move out of the way of something. And I'm looking at what fall's supposed to be like. And it's like, are you serious? Red Dead? And you know what I'm saying? Like, like it's going to be bad this year, bruh. We're going to be broke. So it's going to be exciting in the next couple of weeks. We'll have plenty to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, because we're going to play some games. And we're going to be certainly bringing you some of our impressions of what's going on out there and what's happening.
Absolutely.
I think we can go ahead and shut it down. Should we shut the crew down? Shut it down?
I think we good to
What's up
go.
with that death
Lock it
trap
up.
though? You scared? You scared? What's up with that death trap? Yeah. So do us a favor. Make sure you just show us a little love. Like, subscribe, drop some comments on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio for us. We greatly appreciate it. Make sure you shoot over and check us out on YouTube. Just search Loading Snacks. You'll find us. You can certainly catch us on the other socials. So Instagram and Twitter, just at Loading Snacks. KatsuCon just passed this past weekend. We got some good pictures, hung out for a little bit. Didn't get to do as much as we would have liked to, but definitely got some good pictures. So if you like anime, cosplay, any of that kind of stuff, definitely make sure you check out our Instagram. There's some hot pics there, and we're definitely doing a lot to share as other people are posting their pics, because we like to make sure that we give credit to other folks and kind of, in the spirit of, hey, these people are fantastic artists and make their own stuff and do some really awesome cosplay. Like, we want to help make sure that people get to see that. So that's pretty cool. For myself, you can follow me on the socials at MT Shells, MTSHELLZ. Find me basically the same way, gaming. Sin?
Yeah, same thing here. If you want to follow me on Xbox Live and Twitter, it's Sincere619. And on Instagram, sorry about that. If you want to hit me up on the PlayStation Network, same thing, but replace the I with an L, you can find me there. And if you want to email me, send.loadingsnacks@gmail.com. Hit me up.
Do it. Jokes.
Mm-hmm. So if you guys want to get at me on the consoles or on Instagram and Twitter, it's New Joker 89. That's NUJOKER 89. And if you want to check me out on Facebook, check out New Joker's Adventures.
New Joker's Adventures. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you don't need my email address. Just email Sin, and then he'll tell me.
Okay.
You guys know how to get it. I think that's cool.
That's fine. That'll work.
With that, I think we're gonna shut it down. President's Day tomorrow, so if you're off, enjoy, celebrate. I mean, it won't be President's Day anymore by the time you hear this, but we'll enjoy.
Oh, yeah.
So with that, we're gonna lock it down. We are out. Toodles and lose.